Thank you, Steve. Wanted to give you a little peek at our building. Thank you so much, and thank you to KZF Architects for putting that time lapse together for us, and Alicia Bloom, who is the drone pilot who came out several times and took that for us. So I'm Lakshmi Cody Samarco, for those of you who don't know me. I am the Hamilton County Coroner for the past 9 years. I wanted to show you a little bit about our building and take you back to the beginning here. So we started this journey 9 years ago, and I want to give you a little peek about how far we've come. So when this journey started, it was in these days. How many of you remember this show? They actually really do that. So Dr. Cleveland was coroner when the previous building was built, and back in 1974 when it was completed. And it looked a lot like the suite in that TV series, and you'll see in a minute. We're really thankful to Cushman Wakefield, Dave Parker, and Bob Ryan for finding us this great site. We're right here where the trees are, and at Summit Park, and this is just such a great location for our law enforcement partners because they can access this location from Ronald Reagan Highway or 71, 75, or I-275, and it makes us really centrally located for our regional partners as well. Here's a little close-up of the site itself. This was a capture of part of the planning when we were trying to figure out what department needed to go near what. We had this very colorful setup by Smith Group, who were our crime lab design gurus from Arizona, and they flew here for this as well. They met with all of the employees in the building and asked a lot of questions and really got to know what operations needed what adjacencies and what was important to be near what, and designed this awesome building for us. And that's what that building looks like. It was all the different sections, and the blue lines mean something, and the orange lines mean something else. And in the end, they put together a 3-story little mock-up, and with all the different things, and it was great to work with them. Those of you who don't know where we moved from, this is our old building. And you'll recognize the bronze sculpture on the front because you will see it in our lobby here. We wanted to keep a part of our old building, and that was just such a beautiful piece. We, the guys that moved it weren't too happy with us. It weighs like 850 pounds, and and when they first put it up, it was up at like 8 o'clock, and I made them move it to 6 o'clock, and said, "Do you know what it takes?" I said, "Well, it has to be done right." So that was our old building. That's what it looks like now. So one thing you'll notice is we really didn't have any windows in our old building. We did. We had windows in the stairwells, which did us no good as far as people being able to enjoy the windows. I think we had a total of 30 windows in our old building. We have over 1,200 pieces of glass in this building. So the one thing that every single employee in this building, when they met with the architect, said was, "We really need some natural light. Really like to have some windows." Well, we got windows, all right. We're going to keep the window washers really busy. This is our old autopsy suite. So our old building had actually 3 autopsy tables, 1 in a separate room and then 2 in the main room, and this is where we did the bulk of the work every day. And as you can see, the architecture and the design and styling in the cinder block, and very 70s. This is our autopsy room now. Our main autopsy room has 8 tables, and we also have, and then you'll see that everything is lined up. There's one at the very end. We have an observation room now, which we never had before. So if anybody was coming to observe an autopsy, unfortunately previously, they had to be in the same room as the pathologist and the morgue techs, and it was really difficult to work around them. And that also meant that some of the debris that went flying would land on them. And this is a little easier. So we have a room behind glass, 2 steps up, where you can actually observe. And we've actually already had, I think the Indiana State Troopers came for a case, and we're already observing using that room. So this is our decomp autopsy room. So this is our 9th autopsy table. It's a completely separate room with a very robust ventilation system. And it's a system that removes the toxic gases and some of the biohazards in the room, so they're contained, and we treat it separately. We also have a separate cooler for the decomp bodies. This is our old trace evidence section, and a little bit of spillover from our firearms section. Evidence comes in the paper bags, and we only really had 2 or 3 bays where we could open the evidence and maintain integrity. This is an example of one of our labs with a lot more natural light. You can see all the way to both sides. While in the lab, you can see windows, and there's a lot more space. These are ventilation hoods on the side. This is our drug section in the old building, very crowded. You see all the gas chromatograph, mass spectrometers, these big white machines, and everything is crammed together, office space right next to lab space and bench space. And we had marijuana drying in our boiler room because we really didn't have anywhere else to dry it. And you know, when we would get packages like this, you could smell it on all 3 floors in the building. It would get taken upstairs on the elevator, and it would linger in the elevator for quite a while. But we have special spaces now for drying. So these are those GCMSs in our brand new lab. And you can see all the gases come from the ceiling. And we have these snorkels that take their ventilation, so they take away any harmful fumes. So it's just it's a much cleaner environment. We don't have any office space next to the benches. This is our old DNA section. Very crammed, and you can see Kelly here. We actually had to remove the drawers out of that space and kind of cover it with packing tape so it wouldn't snag her pants, and that was her space because we didn't really have anywhere else to put her. And it was difficult for us to do a lot of the DNA cases because we had electrical shortages in that section as well. Some of our lab space in our new building with the ventilation hoods, snorkels. This was after we removed the wooden panels, but this was the area that the public would come to when they came to our office if they needed death certification or talking to the investigators or for any meetings, attorneys, and they would be greeted at this counter, and behind them, the counter are desks, and that's where our investigators used to sit and answer the phone calls. So the office is open for phone calls and body delivery and pickup, but body delivery for 24/7. So we always had somebody in the building. On the left, Leon is showing off his brand new cubicle. He's one of our investigators, and that whole row is investigators. And on the right, you see the new meeting room where the morning report happens. Before, it was right there at that counter. Everybody would gather at the counter at 8 o'clock in the morning. But now there's an actual place where they can sit and they can go over cases on the monitor. That was actually our first day in the building. First day in the building and 20 cases. This is our old meeting room on the left, very 70s, like that mustard color and the chartreuse and the orange. It was hard to get more than about 40 people in there. The capacity was 40. We're 284 capacity in this building, in this room. And in that closet, we have tables where we can train 100 people at a time. Law enforcement can train with DNA collection or any evidence collection, and we can do all that training at once. The old boardroom with these amazing doors. And when you come back and come on our tour, you'll see that we did repurpose the doors. The panels on the doors were used for and the panels on the counter also were used for our boardroom table. And we really wanted to keep a part of that. We still have the doors in our storage because we're going to do some other things with them, but didn't want to leave them behind. Those were commissioned by Dr. Cleveland. And our new boardroom, which has windows. And we tried in the other one. We even got the full spectrum light bulbs and everything, and it just didn't help. But we're really happy to have all the windows now. This is our main body cooler in our new building. It's a capacity of total of 94, including the decomp, but we actually have a capacity of up to 135 using the shelving systems. And our previous building was 50 tops total with both coolers. So we've got a lot more space. And we have really big cooling systems in there. And we have backup generators that will power those in case we lose power. We did lose power in the old building, and the backup generators did not work on the body coolers. I'm most excited about this one as a radiologist. This is our brand new 64-slice CT scanner. And so we're going to be scanning all the bodies and doing virtual autopsies and correlating the information that we get with autopsy findings. So I think it's going to really help and make us more efficient. These are some of the images that you can get off of a CT scanner. And, you know, if you have to go to a scene like this horrible motor vehicle accident, it's really tough to sometimes be able to see what the anatomy should look like. And the CT scanner helps us do that. This is the best one. This is our firing range on the left in the old building, which is basically you shoot through the doorway at that rubber membrane. And Dr. Felak, just so you know, just to the right of that was the med school garage on the other side of that wall. So we were very careful, you know. But this is our brand new firing range in this building on the right. allowing 2 people to shoot at the same time, and it has half-inch thick reinforced armored steel and concrete and the really dense foam. So huge, huge improvement. We wanted to say thank you to the Hamilton County taxpayers. Though most of you are local and have gone a short drive to come, and we appreciate that, I have 2 special friends who've driven 4 hours to be here. You want to stand up? Maybe not. Doctors Mitch Group and Tom Masrick. And Dr. Masrick is my old boss and the recently retired chairman of radiology from the Cleveland Clinic. Thank you for coming. So my first day, I was to report to the office. I called Andrea, and I introduced myself, said I'm the newly appointed Hamilton County Coroner, and asked her where I should park. And she said, "Oh, you get the primo parking spot right next to the dumpster." And I knew then that I had my work cut out for me. I walked into my office, and on the center of my desk was a 56-page assessment of the building that was ordered by the previous Board of Commissioners. And in that, it outlined multiple insufficiencies, safety hazards that existed in that building, not least of which were electrical shortages and inadequate ventilation hoods. And the electricity would go out at any time, random times, and sometimes, I think there was one period of time it was out for the cooler lost electricity, then the cooling unit went out, and it was out for 4 or 5 days. So we were looking at bringing in temporary morgues or something to plug into our parking lot, but because we didn't have enough electricity, we were going to have to get a semi, so it was crazy. But there was one funny moment. I was doing an interview with NBC Nightly News, and they wanted to do it in the autopsy room, and so it was late in the afternoon. We were all done. We went down there, and they had a photo light set up, plugged in. Current goes out, electricity goes out, and it goes pitch black in that room. There are no windows. We don't even have emergency lights in that room. And somebody had a cell phone and turned it on, and the cameraman was positioned next to the door to the body cooler, and he started getting a little freaked out about being down there in the dark next to the body cooler and ghosts and so forth. But anyway, having read through the assessment, I didn't really understand, because until that day, I had not been above the first floor, the autopsy suite, as a second-year medical student. So I spent the next few weeks and months talking to the employees and finding out, if you could do things differently, what is it that you would do? Well, following years would further highlight our inefficiencies and inadequacies as our entire nation, but especially our region, struggled with the opioid epidemic. The ever-increasing number of overdoses and multiple combinations of drugs taxed our resources and facility to the limit. The increase in crime and gun violence over the past year during the pandemic and lockdown made responding to scenes and processing the mountains of evidence in a cramped facility very challenging. Through it all, though, the women and men of this office worked diligently to provide the highest quality of service to this county. They deserve a new facility. The assessment was the beginning of a journey that would last 9 years and bring many ups and downs, many steps forward and backwards, great frustrations, lots of discussions, a few arguments, and more recently, just an amazing sense of wonder walking through this building. She doesn't want to speak, but Andrea started here straight out of college and has been in this office working 28 years in a lot of different roles. Mike started here straight out of college as a forensic scientist and has been here 41 years. He's a world-renowned trace evidence specialist and one of the 7 people who sets the standards for gunshot residue in the world. And I am most grateful for the people of Hamilton County who have shown great support of me. Thank you for welcoming us in your community. Thank you for welcoming me as coroner, and this building is for you. sorry I'm going on, but the last boxes were just delivered last week, which is why we're unable to give tours today because they're sort of everywhere. We need some time to get them unpacked and settle in. But please check back with us after Memorial Day, and I'll be happy to take you on a tour of this fantastic facility. I'm going to turn this over to Mike Trimpe, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you. I have worked here over 41 years at the Clifton Crime Lab. Being a true West Sider, my wife wonders whether I can make it to Blue Ash, but this is incentive to make it. That last building was built without alarm systems or security cameras or proxy cards. It was built with brick and no windows. That was our security. We didn't have computers back when I started. We didn't have laser printers. I can remember typing out reports on typewriters, using carbon paper so we could get a second copy. But that building was built for wet chemistry, and that's been replaced by sophisticated instrumentation. You know, drug cops would bring in caffeine capsules that they would push on the streets as uppers, and we would easily test them with wet chemistry with a microcrystalline test. Nowadays, drug dealers are pushing fentanyl analogs, and which the amount of powder to kill someone is less than a pinhead. And we need liquid chromatograph, dual mass spectrometers to analyze these things to detect the nanogram level of lethal drugs in those things. And that's what we use today. Probably the biggest advancement has been in forensic biology. I can remember looking for blood stains so that we could do the ABO blood typing. And you know, type O blood is 45% of the population. Now we swab a doorknob for something we can't even see and do DNA sequencing on it, and we can determine that whose DNA is on there is 1 in 1 decillion in the population. Decillion is a 1 with 33 zeros behind it. So things have changed quite a lot. I remember doctors doing autopsies without wearing gloves. But now, and through all of this, our doctors, our technicians, our forensic scientists have really been top-notch, top-quality professionals working hard. And now we have a building that matches their talents. Thank you all for that. I especially want to thank the former commissioners that, in a bipartisan way, came together and made this dream happen. I especially thank the coroner, Dr. Lakshmi Samarko. Without her foresight, her drive and determination, her love for everyone in the community, she saw this through to the end. And so I say to her, happy birthday today.
You were going to say what I was going to say. And when you think about your concept that you had in 2012, you gave birth to that. And so normally when we give birth, in 9 months we deliver. But it was 9 years for her. And that we need to give you a hand for that. It was your baby. And so, of course, delay is not denial. And you would not let us forget. So you were adamant about how things should look and what we should do. So as I moved forward, I wasn't there at the beginning, but in 2015, I remember reading that we were looking for land for this development. When I came on board in 2019, I remember with the forethought of our administrator and all our commissioners that we had money left over. That when the bid came in, it was lower than we thought. And so, of course, Dr. Samarko said, why don't we include the things that we did not include because we thought we would overbid. And so that's certainly what we did. And so now we have everything just about that we need, all the new innovative equipment as was shown earlier. I would be remiss if I did not mention our Commissioner Todd Portune, that I was at a public hearing. And I remember him being so excited about the fruition of this coming about, how important it was to him. And he was just, and as you were saying, I'm sure he's here now. So in 2021, here we are. It has come to fruition. I thank also the taxpayers. This is not a Hamilton County building. As it was said earlier, it's a regional hub, and it will bring light to Hamilton County. For those who had that old building like we had, they can come here and use those up-to-date equipment. They can come here for training and education, and as you said, for the firearm range. So we are going to be another light in Hamilton County. So I thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this and saying a few words. So thank you very much.
On behalf of the City of Blue Ash and my fellow city councilmen, I'd like to thank you all for being here as we celebrate this new state-of-the-art coroner's office and crime lab. It's impressive, and ultimately, we're thrilled to have it here in Blue Ash. We're thrilled it's going to be for the region. It's going to ultimately make the citizens of the region safer. And we hope the architecture of this stunning building will serve as a model for new developments in the region. So I just want to congratulate Dr. Samarco and her entire staff, and we wish them success here in the city of Blue Ash. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. I think we're going to go outside. Oh, no, it just started raining. I think we'll just cut the ribbon here. I should have been a little shorter, trying to catch it before it started raining, but we're going to cut the ribbon here. We have some cookies and some bottles of water out in the lobby area. We'd love for you to mingle out there as soon as we're done cutting and get a cookie. We've got logos printed from Buskin Bakery. And that concludes the program. Please join us out in the lobby.